Hi, welcome to Weekend Review, where we catch up on some of the headlines making news this week. I'm Phil O'Connor, the Live Enterprise Director. I'm joined this week by Juliana Keeping from the Enterprise Desk, our good friend Darnell Mayberry from Sports, and Dom Mecoy, my old compadre from Business. Big story of the week this week, obviously, is we have the Manhunt going on for Michael Dale Vance Jr., now in its 6th day. This started with a shootout Sunday night. Juliana, why don't you bring us up to speed on where we are with this story?
Sure. Just to recap quickly, the crime spree included the shooting of 2 Wellston police officers, stealing that pickup truck, stealing the pickup truck, and then at a trailer park, carjacking an expectant couple's vehicle, shooting a woman there, the slaying of 2 in Luther, and then the suspect, Michael Dale Vance Jr., is alleged to have gone on to attempt to hijack a trucker out in Sayre, Oklahoma, and he is still on the run, and it's also possible that he's died from his wounds. No one really knows where he is at this point.
Okay, and we have a funeral today, and there's concern about safety at the funeral even, right?
Right. This week it surfaced that Michael Vance apparently had a hit list with as many as 8 names on it, and the family members confirmed that their relatives of the Wilksons, the slain Luther couple, are actually on that list. So despite the fact that this kind of danger is hanging over the entire area, they are going ahead with the burial rites. They're really determined to afford proper burial rites to the relatives today. So
and the police also want to keep the suspect in the public eye, or in the public, so
right.
that people are on the lookout for them.
Yeah. And so the funeral today is, like you said, is in Luther at the high school auditorium. And it's definitely going to be one like this community has never seen before. There will be the presence of officers from different jurisdictions, both uniformed and also plainclothes officers, just in case he decides to show up, which would not be wise.
And Katie, the woman who was killed, is a very well-known person in the community there, right?
Yeah, I talked to some family members this week, and they had gathered just to plan the funeral and have lunch at a cafe where she used to work, and described her as just such a warm person and someone who everyone knew as Miss K in the community. And then her husband, who everyone called Ronnie, he's a retired truck driver and loved taking care of his lawn. I mean, they were just obsessed with their grandchildren, and they sounded like really good people, and the family was just really confused, obviously, as to why this horrible, traumatic thing happened to them, because Vance is actually a distant relative. He's Kay Wilkson's cousin's son, and they have no idea, why he would go after them.
Right, and then there was the dramatic video that he shot of himself in the getaway car, suffering from a bullet wound that he suffered in the shootout. Obviously, this story will continue to update it all. As information becomes available, we'll have updates on newsok.com, and you'll be attending the funeral this afternoon.
Right.
We'll have a story on that in tomorrow's paper, so we'll be looking for that for sure. Okay, Darnell, it's one of the most wonderful times of the year. It's not Christmas. It's not Thanksgiving. It's Thunder basketball home opener. Yep. What are we hearing? What should we be looking for tonight in the Peak?
Well, Russell Westbrook, this is the season of Russell Westbrook. A lot of people have him as a leading candidate for MVP. He almost had a triple-double in the season opener at Philadelphia on Wednesday night. He was 1 assist shy. So playing the Phoenix Suns tonight, that's sort of an overmatched team for the Thunder. The Thunder should take care of business. And Russell Westbrook could have another opportunity at a triple-double. So I think this is going to be the season of Russell Westbrook without Kevin Durant in town. It's his team now. He's surrounded by a lot of new faces, and he could put on a show every night. So it should be a lot of fun for the fans.
And we had an interesting story talking to the Big O, Oscar Robertson, right? The last guy to actually average a triple-double in NBA.
Yeah.
And he said,
our Brett Dawson did the story on him, asking the pros and cons or the possibility of Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double this season. And the only guy who's ever done it said, sure, why not? Of course he could do it. And that was sort of surprising because no one else has done it since him. Don, help me out. That was in
early 60s.
60s,
yeah,
maybe.
60s.
Yeah. So it's been that long since someone has done it. No one else has ever done it. So if anyone could do it, Russell Westbrook could be the guy. And a lot of people feel like it's almost an impossible feat. But Russell Westbrook did average, or he had 18 triple doubles last year, led the league in that category. So he's just a stat stuffer, and he's a monster with what he does on the court. So it's going to be interesting to watch him play this season.
Now, you've been to home openers here before, obviously, or whatever. It's a special night, right? It's like any season opener. And the Thunder do a great job with pregame. Don, you're at these games or whatever. What's the best thing about home opener? What do they do that makes it special? Anything in particular stand out?
Oh, I'm a basketball guy. I'm there to watch the game. They always have something going on. They'll have a special act at halftime. They'll have some kind of a giveaway. I mean, and the people who work there, I give it up to them. They're great with the fans. I mean, every game. They've got a great staff over there. But I'm there to watch the basketball.
He's such a purist. Such a purist.
And it's like the first day of school. Like, you get to see everyone that you haven't seen
That's true.
all summer. The faces that you're familiar with, even if it's fans that sit next to you.
Oh, yeah. I've been sitting next to the same people for 9 years.
And I think that is a great thing about there is a community that sort of builds up. You watch other kids grow up.
Mm-hmm.
They bring them to the game, and you remember when they were just a little kid, and you go back and you realize some decades have passed, and now they're bringing their kid to the game. I think that's always fun. So anyway, great stuff to have. Always the Thunder kickoff. We'll be following all year long on newsok.com and all year long in the Oklahoman. We'll be following those stories closely. Okay, Don, we had another big news in the medical community this week, right? Two big hospitals joining together.
Right, yeah. OU Medical Center, OU Hospital, which has since 1999 been affiliated with HCA, which is one of the biggest hospital companies in the country, based in Nashville, I believe. OU is now going to be affiliated with SSM Health, which is the parent company of St. Anthony, which we're very familiar with here in the downtown area, has been around for a long time. It's a big deal because back when OU aligned with HCA, a lot of teaching hospitals and medical centers that were affiliated with universities were doing that because you had to be in a network. You couldn't really be a standalone anymore. And that pretty much saved them. They were in bad shape. Now they've got a deal, and it took 2 years to negotiate this deal with SSM, but they've got a deal now where they're with a nonprofit. And the biggest initial thing is going to be, it's going to bring more money into the OU Medical Center because they're affiliated with a nonprofit. They're saying could be upwards of $75 million a year that they could pour back into the hospital. And one of the things they announced on the very day they signed the agreement was, we're going to build a new tower here. There's been lots of stuff built out at OU Medical Center, but one thing they haven't ever replaced is the original hospital. That's still where they treat the patients. That's where all the hospital rooms are. And they want to build a new tower. Now, it's going to be years before we see that, and it's a question of where they're going to put it. They're a little bit landlocked out there, but that's going to be a big thing happening. And for now, OU will still be called OU, and St. Anthony's will still be called St. Anthony's, but they said at some future date, they may come out with a different overarching branding for both medical centers, which are only about a mile apart.
And that's what I was going to ask, and I don't know if we know this yet or whatever, but because they are so closely located to one another, is there duplication of services that you would see some services at one facility close down in favor of having them at the other? I mean, and I don't really know.
No one has mentioned.
Room type
no one has mentioned that, but St. Anthony's just recently completed. They just recently opened a whole new addition with a new ER and other services, surgical services and things out there. There's always been duplication between those hospitals, but they've always both survived. I mean, there used to be 3 hospitals downtown, so no one has contemplated that they would be doing anything like that at this point. I mean, I guess there could be some things that they might want to shift around, but that's not the case that we've heard so far.
Okay, great. What do you got coming Sunday?
Well, our Paul Monies has been tracking, our whole energy team has been tracking disposal wells the last couple of years because they've been linked to these earthquakes that we've been having, which everybody's concerned about. Well, there's a case right now at the Corporation Commission where a guy wants to put a couple of commercial water disposal wells. He lives west of the metro. It's Oklahoma City limits, but it's out by Yukon. He wants to put a couple of commercial disposal wells on his property, and his neighbors are very upset about that. They don't want them there. Well, it turns out these wells aren't being drilled down deep into that Arbuckle, region of the rock that has been the concern for the earthquakes. So it doesn't appear that there's a whole lot that the Corporation Commission can do to stop him. But these neighbors are very upset about it. And Paul's been talking to these people. He's been tracking this case, and we're going to have a whole story about that and what the implications of that are.
Yeah, the issue of going forward on these disposal wells, I think we're going to be talking about that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So, listen, this is the kind of insight, the kind of news, the kind of great information you can get only at newsok.com. In the Oklahoman, we bring it to you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We're here all the time. Subscribe, check us out. We look forward to having you read our content. Thanks for joining us again this week, and we'll see you again soon.